Let's now get to the Jordan Peterson stuff. Jordan Peterson, who has for years said he's not political and he's not a right winger. Not political and not a right winger, is now doing a show with the extremely right-wing Daily Wire. We're going to look at, actually, let's first look at the trailer. This to me seems like it would be satire, but this is really the trailer for his new show. Check this out.
One of the things I tell young men, well, and young women as well, but the young men really need to hear this more, I think. You should be a monster, an absolute monster, and then you should learn how to control it. So a man who's capable of aggression but has it under control is a way more useful man than one who cannot do that. And so,
why would anyone take advice from Jordan Peterson at this point? I mean, with everything that isn't he the picture of instability? Like, I just genuinely don't know why you would listen to him.
So you're willing to go get a job, but you're terrified of an interview. It's like, there's a dragon for you. Because you want to fight the dragons that guard the gates of the treasure that you wish to attain. And productivity requires aim, orientation, responsibility, discipline.
This is the exact type of thing. Let me put that back on the screen. This is the exact type of thing where you hear it and you go, this is so useful. He's giving me the list of stuff. This is just like, this is awesome. What you need: aim, orientation, responsibility, and discipline. Okay, so like, now what? Great. So now, but what?
Discipline, that willingness to work, that willingness to make sacrifices, which is the hallmark of maturity in the service of a higher goal. It orients you solidly in the world if you do that, and it gives you a dragon to fight. What do you want to grow up? You want to be illiterate? You want to be inarticulate?
You want to be illiterate?
You're going to have to negotiate. You're going to have to lead. You're going to have to convince.
This could be a cigar commercial.
You're going to have to think to say to a 18-year-old, you're okay the way you are. That just deflates them.
You know, it's so funny. He was just ranting the other day about how it's terrible to tell young people about the bad things going on. Like, it's demoralizing to tell them that we're ruining the planet. And now he's like, telling them that they're fine the way they are is also terrible for them. Man, it sounds like everything's bad.
You know, when you go to the gym and you start lifting weights, well, your body's going to transform, but it's not going to do that if you just sit around. You have to face your being with the necessity of transformation, and then all sorts of new things that you had no idea you were capable of will make themselves manifest. Those are the dragons, you know, the ones that stand in the path that leads to the light. And you have to say to yourself, I will do good nonetheless. Right. Everyone great makes that decision. Make that decision.
A powerful declaration here from Jordan Peterson. That's for damn sure.
That is a frickin' predator right there.
Because maybe you're great.
Really looking forward to that on Daily Wire Plus. So anyway, he did some interviews, I guess, related to this, and they're pretty weird. Okay, check this out.
Hello, everyone.
I guess these aren't even interviews. They're just kind of like direct-to-camera things.
2 days ago, I penned an irritated tweet in response to one of the latest happenings on the increasingly heated culture war front.
Now, remember, he quit Twitter after attacking me on Twitter and then attacking a Sports Illustrated cover. He quit Twitter. So how is he already back on Twitter and getting into more trouble?
In response to the decision of an actor named Ellen Elliott Page.
Oh, boy.
I am employing this awkward and impossible naming style because it is now apparently mandatory and am probably doing it wrong.
Uh-oh. This takes him back to the beginning. Remember, I'm against compelled speech. He's against it. Canada will not compel me.
Nonetheless, as you're doing it wrong is the whole point of what has been made mandatory. But also, I'm trying to make a point. I've essentially been banned from Twitter as a consequence. I say banned, although technically I have been suspended. But
he has been suspended, everybody.
the suspension will not be lifted unless I delete the hateful tweet in question, and I would rather die than do that.
Whoa. He would prefer to die than delete a tweet.
And hopefully it will not come to that, although who the hell knows in these increasingly strange days.
Wait, is he saying someone might kill him for not deleting a tweet? Is that what he's... That's outrageous. Who even cares what he tweets? And then he did another one where he raises not the idea of Nazis here. Extremely principled and defiant, I know.
By participating in the whole identity charade.
It's a charade. That's interesting. I like that. I might... Is that a valid pronunciation? Let me see what that is. Charade. I don't see charade. Is charade a Canadian pronunciation? I've never heard that before. Charade. Anybody know? It's British. That's how the French say it. British pronunciation of charade. That's actually very interesting to me. Let me listen.
The interviews were just a charade.
Oh, it is the British pronunciation. Beautifully done. All right, let's continue.
Ellen/Elliot has undoubtedly, with his, her, their so-called courage, and remember the White House itself has tweeted out every indication of believing in the courage of those who transition, enticed many a poor, confused adolescent, girl most likely, to blame her emergent pubescent self-consciousness, confusion, and discomfort on being born in the wrong body and believing that the courageous, self-affirming, and morally admirable route is hormonal treatment, sterilization, subjugation to a lifetime of expensive medical complication. How delightfully profitable is that? And
anybody know what he's talking about? This is transphobic, right? Is that, I mean, I guess that we can tell.
Misery. And I believe firmly that Ellen/Elliot, or whatever the hell her name or his name is, bears...
What a lunatic. Oh my goodness. This is crazy.
Moral culpability.
Imagine being like, I'm going to get advice for my life from this guy who's this sent for a loop by a trans person.
That. And finally, with regard to the final phrase, criminal physician, I must say that I've had some post-coital, so to speak, regrets about that phrase.
What? Post-coital? Is this the teaching of transgender that Trump keeps talking about?
It is clearly the case that the surgical operation performed by the butchers who butchered Elliot/Ellen was legal. So, was it criminal or not? Were the operations undertaken by the fascist physicians who carried out the Nazi medical experiments?
Oh my God. Oh my God. Do you guys understand what he's saying there? He's saying, listen, it may be legal to have, I think, what is now called gender affirming surgery. But what the Nazis did in terms of medical experiments was also legal in Third Reich era Germany. So its legality doesn't really, it's funny. Would he apply that to gay marriage? Would he go, hey, before gay marriage was legal, would he go, hey, listen, we don't think that it's good for gay marriage to be legal, and it's illegal, and that's it. And then people would go, well, sometimes things are illegal that should be legal. That's the argument that he's making here, sort of, but in reverse. It's all very, very strange.
Legal? Yes, under the laws of the time.
Right.
But were they criminal? I'll leave that question up to you to answer. And further, perhaps it might be objected, what about the damage done by hypothetically leaving those confused about their identity to dwell in their confusion? Aren't we morally obliged to intervene?
All right. So anyway, he seems off his rocker. I don't know how else to say it. It's very kind of like coarse and in a sense dismissive, but he just seems like he's not really in a place to be giving anybody advice nor weighing in on anything of substance. Now, people are saying that he had a conversation with Dave Rubin during which he tried to tell Dave Rubin that basically like conversion therapy is okay. Let's see if we can find that. Jordan Peterson, Dave Rubin. That sounds pretty damn interesting.
See this now suddenly, like, you know, when we announced that we were having kids, there was some pushback online from...
Oh, wait a second. Here it is.
Right. And more than that, and here's another perverse element of this. So many legislatures around the world now have banned so-called conversion therapy. And to me, this has been a catastrophe. Now, I know that there was a small percentage, mostly of fundamentalist Christian therapist types in the US, who were offering their services to homosexual people who were unhappy with their sexual orientation. And so...
No, often they were not unhappy. Their parents were telling them, you got to go and be converted to be straight. They were, even if it were true, oh my goodness, this is like 5 layers deep. No. What? Is this criminal is the question. No, it wasn't. You think kids were like, Mom and Dad, I'm not super happy with my sexual orientation. Oh, no worry, little Jimmy. We'll send you to it. No, some parents were forcing their children to go to this stuff. Okay, hold on a second. Let's get rid of some of these. There's some people annoying me here.
Oh, you could have a discussion about whether that's ever appropriate or not, although I would say that's bloody well between the person and their therapist, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
But now
that's completely insane. That's completely insane.
Now that's illegal, and it's illegal to the point where...
In all your years of clinical therapy and all the patients that you ever saw, I'm sure you saw dozens, if not hundreds of gay patients. Did you ever meet a gay man who successfully de-gayed and then went on to live a completely functioning life?
No.
By the way, a functioning life, like this is crazy. Everything about this is crazy. So now it doesn't sound like Peterson was the one de-gaying anybody. It sounds like the question was just, did you meet someone who had been de-gayed elsewhere? Man, even that language is crazy. Saying de-gayed is almost like saying de-loused, you know? Well, let me remove the lice. Even Rubin's using crazy language for this. Wow. I had no idea that they were up to this stuff. This is really, really wild. Dave Rubin agrees with Jordan Peterson that heterosexual marriage is the ideal. Oh, this I have to see.
We have this notion that's rife in our culture, let's say, that's insisted upon, that all families are equal. And I understand the emphasis on that from the, let's call it the tolerance perspective. But I think that it's badly flawed in one manner. And I think this will be the hardest thing probably for us to discuss, is that...
Now, I guess this is hard because Dave Rubin and his husband are in the middle of having kids, right? Is that why it's going to be difficult? I'm trying to understand why. Or is it just because Dave Rubin's gay? It's not clear why it'll be difficult? Okay, yeah, well, let's just see if we can figure it out.
You can't flatten out distinctions without a tremendous loss. And I don't think it's possible to dispense with the ideal of heterosexual monogamy. Now, as the ideal.
Yes.
So if we think, well, there's an ideal individual who's responsible and mature and far-seeing and honest, an honest trader, a good player, an honorable person, honorable, decent person. And then there's the minimal requirement for a family that's ideal, and that's something approximating heterosexual, long-term heterosexual monogamy. And maybe you have 2 decent people united together, and then there's a firm platform for children. Now, the problem with that as an ideal is that we all fall short of the ideal. And so
right.
40% of people are going to get divorced. And of the people who don't get divorced, a good percentage of them are in pretty damn miserable marriages. Now, that doesn't condemn marriage, but it does show how difficult attaining that ideal is. And then there's going to be people who lose their partners and raise children alone. And there are going to be people who raise children alone by happenstance or choice. And it doesn't seem reasonable to, what would you say, put them outside the bounds of civilized society. Let's say that. By the same token, it doesn't seem reasonable to dispense with the ideal.
Yes.
So maybe we need something like, well, we know what the ideal is. It's a divine ideal in some sense, in that none of us can live up to it. But then there has to be a space around that ideal where the individual differences and
it sounds like he's sort of saying he doesn't believe gay couples shouldn't have kids, but it'd be better if it was a heterosexual couple, but it's still okay for the gay couple to have kids. Is that in 7 seconds the summary of what he's taking 3 minutes to say? Can you guys tell? Maybe this is how his events go an hour and a half.
Laws and peculiarities and idiosyncrasies of people aren't treated so harshly that becomes counterproductive in and of itself. It's damning with faint praise, but I don't see.
No, that's it. That's it. That's the meat of this more than anything else. That there is, of course, there's an ideal. Of course, there is an ideal. There has to be an ideal, and if we
there's nothing to aim at if there's not an ideal. Because if the ideal isn't two people, male and female, in a heterosexual relationship, then what is it? Is it 4 people? Is it 8 people? Is it 1 person? Like, instantly you go from that kind of narrow ideal to an intense multiplicity, and we've certainly seen the problems that are.
Oh, so it's like a slippery slope. That doesn't really seem true to me. Like, this is one of these things where even if people, so here's my belief about what people think about this. You probably have a whole bunch of people who agree if you could just choose what's best for a kid, you go mom and dad together in a stable home without a financial issue. Okay. And then you'd have a bunch of other people who would go, I think that same-sex parents in a relationship, in a stable home without financial issues is just as good. Some people would say it's the same for the kid. Some people might have this view where like the heterosexual couple is slightly better. But almost everyone would agree about the things that are really bad. Now, of course, there's homophobic people who would go, no. What Dave Rubin and his husband are doing, it's bad. It's bad. That's it. But given that there are, what is it? Is it 300,000 kids in the foster care system or whatever? Why are we, whether you grade heterosexual couple in the situation I described the same as gay couple in the same situation or slightly off different, why are we even arguing about that? Because there's 300,000 kids in the foster care system, and either of those scenarios is way better than what any of these kids are in almost every situation. And then you go to like, what, I mean, I just don't even, it seems like a way to say gay parenting isn't that good. Just like to crowbar it in, even though like, what, two financially stable moms. Yeah. When I say a gay couple, I gay, lesbian. Okay. Anyway, crazy stuff going on with Jordan Peterson. It's really, really strange. Chakaseki says Peterson has had gender affirming surgery with his hairline. So him going after Paige is pathetic. Cry bully Benzo Kermit. Did he have a hair transplant? I didn't know that. History Anthropology says children are best raised by a community or tribe, not just 2 parents. Something, it takes a village. Okay, yeah, that's another, I mean, you could say that. You go, actually, there's other better alternatives.